Good morning, everyone. It is Velva Dawn, and I'm excited to do, I believe this is my third interview with the hashtag Wisdom Weaver Wednesday. So I'm excited today. I'm going to have Vick Maan on here with me, and we're going to be talking about dating. We're going to be talking about what are the best apps to use. What has been your experience? Can you actually find a relationship, on these dating apps? So before I bring him on, I just want to thank all of you. As many of you know, it was really kind of a difficult week for me last week in putting my horse down that I had had for 14 years. And many of you, in fact, I think over 600 of you watched the video. And, I received so many messages of condolences and just support. So I know to some people, a horse is an animal, but to me, he was more than that. He truly helped awaken so much inside of me. And so, it's a transition for sure. So I am going to bring Vick on. So the other thing that I want to hear from all of you is if there is a topic that you want me to discuss, or if there is someone that you think would be an amazing guest for me to interview, go ahead and shoot me a message and let me know, because my whole purpose in doing this is to truly, I'm just trying to bring him on here, is to truly bring, awareness to topics that maybe people are, they don't want to talk about, they're unsure of. And that is my role, is to bring that awareness to this platform. Because I feel like with what we've all gone through, that many of us we just want that refreshing rejuvenation of real people, real stories, and how are you coping and how is this affecting you? Okay, I'm just going to bring Vick on. I need to be able to see who is on here. This is always the trick with these Facebook Lives, is figuring out how to get people on here. So good morning, Selena. Good morning, Kathy. Good morning, Linda. My birth mom is on here. Okay, guest request, your viewers. Okay, just a sec here. Okay, so Vick, if you are watching, you should see an invitation there somewhere at the bottom. The other thing, Vick, is you have to use your phone. So I haven't been able to do it on a laptop. It has to be, from the phone, from the iPhone is the only way I have had success. So I'm just gonna wait and see. So in the meantime, I'm going to talk a little bit about dating. I'm going to talk about, and I know Kathy's on here and she's been an avid dater for a long time also, is that, there's many tricks, I think, and tips on, the dating. How does that look? I'm a 49-year-old woman, and here I am, learning these dating apps, hence the reason that I am actually doing a book called Unwinding the Divine Masculine. And, what happens for me is that every man that I date always says to me, what chapter am I? Am I going to be in your book? And I always laugh, because I think my information is compiled as far as I'm concerned. I have what I need, and I want to write and share about it with all of you. And I want this to be a read for people who aren't dating, also for people who just want to hear the real and raw stories of dating and life. And as a woman who is divorced and a mom of 3 and an entrepreneur. So I'm just trying to, good morning, Selena. Trying to bring Vick on here. Let's just see. Okay. Like I said, it's always tricky doing this. And inviting somebody. Okay, so, okay, so we'll wait a bit more. So the other thing that I want to talk about with Vick when he comes on here is, I want to talk about intentions and declarations and, for anything in life, whether it is dating, do you have an intention of what it is you're looking for anything in your life? Is it for your career? Is it for a relationship? Is it for, your year? I find so many times that we don't necessarily have the, okay, here's Vic. I'm going to bring him on. Okay, good. Okay, perfect. Yeah, sorry, I should have told you that, Vic. I'm going to bring him on here. Okay. Bringing him on. So this is the trick with this. There you are.
I am.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Sorry, I should have told you that you had to use your iPhone.
Yeah, I was on my laptop and I'm like, how the hell do I get in this thing?
I know. Sorry, I will know that for the next guest because I learned that the hard way too with Jordan. So welcome to #Wisdom Weaver Wednesday. And I'm really grateful that you're here. I'm really looking forward to this conversation and your honesty and your raw stories. So why don't you, this is Vick Maan, everyone. We met a couple of years ago, actually, at Karen McGregor's Rock the Stage. And there was one moment where we had to like share a story that happened in our lives. And most of us were really raw and really honest. And I never heard your story, Vic, because I was in another group. But why don't you share a little bit about yourself that you want everyone to know before we begin?
Okay, so well, thank you for having me. Yeah, it's been a while since we last met at Rock the Stage, and we were separated in different rooms. And basically, when I was sharing about myself, I was kind of talking about my journey with my own mental health. And I would say I've come a long way from where I was when I was 20, kind of having a mental breakdown, being admitted into a psych ward, like experiencing 10 years of isolation and I kind of call it like emotional and mental spiritual purgatory. Then kind of coming out the other end to be able to kind of just be myself again. So that was the past, but now I guess I would, this is the same thing about dating. Like, how do I describe myself? It's really difficult. So I would say, yeah, I'm a pretty easygoing guy. I love to teach yoga. I'm a business coach. My main passion right now is the Mental Wealth Campaign, where I offer accessible and free resources for mental health. And I like pizza, I guess. I don't know.
So what is your favorite kind of pizza?
Anything with cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah, just more cheese, the better.
The better it tastes. Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you on the pizza. No, and I want to thank you for all the work that you've done in the community, in the world, with the mental health, and what you are creating is so needed, and you have that firsthand experience. And I always say that when you've actually gone through something and you've walked in those shoes, you are one of the best, I think, teachers, because you've actually been there. You understand, you have the compassion, and I think that's important. So thank you for all you're doing.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so let's dive in, if you will. Let's talk about this dating, because when I've been talking about this, and you said don't get me started on the dating apps. Wow, I got a fire burning in my belly from my most recent experience about the dating apps. But let's talk about how many dating apps have you been on at one time? Like, do you just choose one and zoom in on that one and focus, or?
I kind of, it's kind of like gambling to me, right? You just place all your bets in all these different apps. So I think I've been on like, I'm going to count as Hinge, Bumble.
Yeah.
Facebook has like a new dating thing. I've been on, I think, a couple of scams, a couple of ads I clicked on that turned out to be just a bunch of a random company in like Paraguay that wanted my money. And then I think I've juggled like 5 different apps at one point.
Yep, I was just writing them all down myself. And Facebook dating is a new one that is free. And so out of all of those, and I don't want to give any names to specific apps, but is there one that you found to be better than others. Like what I mean, so as a woman, you know, on Bumble specifically, you have to swipe left or right, right? And you have to say okay before the man can contact you. And I like that as a woman because then I'm sort of in control. Whereas Match, for example, it's bombarded. You know, you just get all these emails from random people. It's like shopping for your, you know, the person that you may want to spend the rest of your life with. And it just seems surreal to me.
Yeah. I would say with with Bumble, I kind of like Bumble. I like it when women take the initiative, and
Mm.
also it does because even though it's kind of gotten a little, I would say, overpopulated, I guess, on the app, it can get lost. You can get lost in there. It's still pretty okay, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the other thing that I've noticed, I mean, I went on the apps, I think, last year because I was engaged for 3 years. And so when I went on, it was new and there were all these fresh faces. And now that I'm going on again, I'm like, oh yeah, that person's on that one's on that one. And there is like very much the same profiles spread across. Is
Yeah.
that what you're finding with women too?
I find that too, and I wonder. I'm like, I wonder what these women think about me when I go back on there, because I'm the kind of guy. I've done this quite a bit in the past, where I will download all the apps, and then a week later, I'm like, I delete them all. So I've done that so many times where okay, now I'm gonna really make an attempt to start dating. I download the apps. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, and then I'm like, I ain't got time for this. Like, I don't have time to go on here and message everybody. I don't want to disappoint anybody, and then I kind of go through these like little phases with it. So I can only imagine what women think when I go back on there and they're like, this guy again? Like, I've had messages from women like, oh, you're back? How long are you going to stay? Like, literally.
You know, I'm laughing because I was thinking the exact same thing because I just went back on again and I've had this one man, oh, I thought you would be scooped up by now. Oh, you're here again. And then I look at the profile and every message is your turn, your turn, your turn, your turn. And I'm like, Dawn, what are you doing? Like, here you are. And you said you were going to do this. And now you're here and you're like, like, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that happens quite a bit. And you see women do this, do the same thing too, but I don't really place too much kind of attention on that. I just more so wonder from my like what people think about me when I'm doing that. I'm trying to, and I'm being more mindful because I don't have any dating apps right now, which is why when I read your post, I was like, oh yeah, don't get me started because I just deleted them like a month ago. I just relaunched Mental Wealth, so I'm kind of really fully invested into that. That's my mistress, if you will. Like that's my main gal. So it's like I kind of deleted all the apps, but yeah, I found with the apps, I wasn't, especially during COVID, like how am I going to be able to truly connect? Because I'm not a texter. And that's the other thing too. When it comes to dating apps or even on social media, I very much dislike texting. I very much, I'm a talky kind of guy. I'm not really a texty texter. So when it comes to dating apps, and if I'm texting, I have to create like this big illustrious story about myself. And I find I'm like, I don't want to market myself. I don't want to type up my life story. And at one point, I remember Velva, I remember at one point I'm like, I give up. I just put like jingle jangle, let's tangle. That was it.
That was your write up on your profile.
That was it.
Yeah.
Didn't work really well, but
no, didn't. Hey, you know, I'm laughing because for those of you listening, I see some of you listening on here. Nancy's dating too. And it's true. It's like, it takes effort. For those of you that don't understand, it takes effort to share with every single person. You know, this is my history. These are the kids I have. This is what I do for a living. And it's like, we were just saying last night that you should have a copy and paste thing on your iPhone in your notes. So you could just copy and paste because it is a lot of work, right?
It is. Yeah. It's a considerable amount of work because then like even going back to the beginning of our conversation where you're like, tell everybody a little bit about yourself. I'm like, where do I even begin?
Okay.
Because I don't like, when if you were to go on a date for the first time and you sit down or you meet somebody randomly in person,
Mhm.
you're not gonna really ask them for their whole life story right off the
Yeah.
bat. You're gonna slow
Yeah.
down. You're gonna get to know that individual.
Yeah.
So going online and asking for like somebody to just spill the beans and be like, "Yo, tell me everything, every single thing about you, your height, your weight, your what year you were born. I want to know everything. I want to see more than two pictures. And
Yeah.
I want to make sure that you're a real person.
Yeah.
It seems kind of like backwards from how dating used to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm laughing because you're right. It's like how much at the beginning, I was this, naive, thinking everyone was the same. And I just shared it all, bared it all. And then boom, the ghosting, or it turns out to be, I've learned so much, Vic. Like I have learned on Hinge, for example, that you got to swipe all the way to the right to see if they're a smoker. I myself don't want to date anyone who is a smoker because I have asthma and for other reasons. And I missed that because it was a brand new app. And I remember going on the date and he came to the door and I was like, he said to me, I'm a smoker, right? And I'm like, yeah, I missed that. And he goes, you got to swipe all the way to the right. And I was like, damn, right? So I've learned along the way, all of what you're saying. Don't share too much at the beginning, don't put too much effort in. Like if it's meant to progress, it will progress, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
if I just it's straight up, just jingle jangle, let's tango. If it works, then we can progress to the next stage. But I've done the
Yeah.
same thing. You put a little bit too much, and then or you put not enough. So I think it's about like that Three Bears story. You got to get it just
Yeah, I like that. I really like that. Okay. So there's some questions here. I want to go through the one here before I forget. Okay. So Selena says, do you have to weed out before you share?
do I have to weed out before I share?
Mm-hmm.
Like on the dating app?
Yeah.
Uh do I have to weed out like what I'm going to share? I think so. Yeah, I do.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
think so because it's like because I'm a yoga teacher, a business coach. Uh, I have a history with like my own mental health. Um, there was a time in my life from when I was like 16 to 20 where I was kind of involved in like this underground activity in the lower mainland. There was just gangs everywhere. So it's like, where do I even begin to start to talk about myself? So I really do have to weed things out because like I go from yoga teacher to launching a mental health campaign from when I was at that age, from 60 to 20, when my friend was murdered and I was, having detectives come to my house and there was that like dark underworld lifestyle and now there's like happy sunny side lifestyle with like rainbows and yoga classes and it's just like how do I explain that? So yes, that's my long-winded answer. I very much am weed it out online when I'm dating. Give a little, like you were saying, I give a little less than I normally would because in person it's a different story. I'll give you everything like I am right now. I just told you everything, but it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's easier this way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree. I agree. Okay, so there's something here which I want to address. Selena says, do you have a criminal record? Can I have your doctor's number? And funny because I've been seeing a counselor before I got divorced until now. I'm very much about mental health myself and having that support. And I remember her saying to me, she goes, Belvedon, she goes, what you should really do before you really get into a serious, you should probably hire a private investigator and you should have the whole person checked out. And I was like, really? Like, do you really think I should do that? And she goes, absolutely. And I was like, that seems extreme. But, to a certain point, people are really good at wearing those masks and keeping things hidden for a long time. And so what I've discovered is I could write an entire book just about how to date. Like, what are the things you should look for? Because I find the more I experience it, the more I learn to look for.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is. It's like I kind of, but you know what else I feel? I feel like the more I do experience, the
Mm.
more numb I get to it and the less I'm
Oh,
enjoying it.
really?
So yeah, I find like, okay, I find it redundant like sometimes where that's why I
Yep.
kind of like delete it it doesn't matter what I'm seeing, you know, if she's hitting all the, you know, the check marks, like she's, you know, from what I would consider an ideal match, I just find that I'm just scrolling, and I don't really, you know, if I were to think about it, like, it's all random. It's all done randomly throughout the day, in the morning, in the evening, before, after work, sometimes during or after the gym. It's just like, and then I have to really consider what's my mindset when I'm going on there and I'm trying to interact with potential, you know, soulmate. I'm like, what kind of attention am I giving this thing? I don't really have. I'm not really setting myself up for success, to be honest, sometimes.
That is a great point. That is great. Because it's true. It's like your mindset with everything. It's like, are you just on there, you know, scrolling, you know, is it just mindless? I find that, right? Like, so the latest story that I had one time, and this is brutal, is, you know, there I am laying in bed with my boyfriend at the time, and he's on his phone, and I swear I look over and he's on Tinder. And I look over and I'm like, he's not on Tinder. He wouldn't actually be looking for other women while he's in bed with me. Yeah, he was. I found out later that there was at least 3 of us or 4 that he had on the go, and his story was the same, you know, through each of us. And one of them I think is watching on here right now, but that was the biggest. People can actually be that unconscious that they can lie like that, and that they can feed it. And I mean, I'm intuitive, you know that. And I beat myself up because I'm like, how did I miss this? How did this guy, you know, weave through? Like, have you ever had that where because I know you're intuitive too, where you miss clues and then you're kind of wondering how that happened?
To be honest with you, I haven't really had, besides my last relationship, which ended, I think, two years ago. Before that, I hadn't had like a serious relationship for quite a long time. So I think I've grown accustomed to not really fully committing myself into relationships where I don't think I kind of just protect myself that way. I don't really feel, I haven't been put in that position, let's say, to kind of get hurt that way.
Yeah, Cheryl's on here. She said because they're smooth and they know how to play it. And that's true. Like you're saying that you're on there and you're just unconsciously going through sometimes, right? And I've done that too. I don't know if women and men are different. What is your view on that? As a man, like what are you looking for when you go on there? What are some qualities that you're looking for?
So it seems to have like the older I get, the more it evolves and it changes with me. So now, honestly, like it's a huge difference from when I was younger. But now it's like I even put like I'm looking for someone with a kind heart. Really, honestly, that's really my main, I guess, number one attribute that I'm looking for is just somebody with a kind heart. And then, beyond that, somebody with a kind heart that can understand that we are partners in this journey. So, you know, maybe I should just write that down. That's some good stuff. And that we're partners in this journey. And I'm not, I am being intentional with who I'm looking to be with. And but yeah, you know, coming back to the kind heart, I digress. It's a kind heart. It's equally, I think it's equally hard to find as well for a guy to truly find somebody. And not to say that people don't have kind hearts, but are in that space where they are doing the work on themselves to be authentically themselves, so they can have access to that kind heart that we all have.
And you know, that is one of the things when you say you're becoming numb to going through the process. I can see how that happens because I found myself after this last, I'm trying to use my words in a positive way here, in this last experience where I thought, this is why people become numb. This is why people, it's like they just are disappointed. They just want to give up, and you focus on your work, right? And I think that it's important to use that energy to, you know, build your foundation. And then when your foundation is strong, you know, like you're saying, then you can bring in that person. But there's so many out there. And what I've seen, Vic, just from a woman and writing a book about unwinding the divine masculine, is that there's a lot of men that haven't done their work. And I'm sure there is women too. I'm not.
Yeah.
But in my experience, it's like, you know, they get wounded from a divorce. They don't go to counseling. They don't seek help. There's addictions that come into play to soothe that pain.
Yeah.
And that is what they're bringing into, you know, the relationship. And for someone like me, who I've done a lot of work, and I want a partner who's on that platform, that they're honest and they've done their work, and we understand that as two humans, we're going to grow through things, and it's not always perfect. But it's like, I wonder, I'm like, do those people exist? Like, are they out there?
They are out there, and kind of truthfully, like, you know, sorry ladies, guys aren't, you know, culturally as um you know, as great as you are with working on yourselves internally, mentally, emotionally, you know, even spiritually. So I was put in a position where I had to, if, you know, who knows if I'd, you know, have to move this text, if I would have been able to work on myself had I not been forced to. So I can only imagine, you know, what's the boiling point for somebody to really want to work on themselves. So I think, you know, as a culture, men aren't really taught how to manage their emotions or deal with their emotions or be, you know, respectful in a way towards women when they're dating that, you know, doesn't leave any kind of like energetic damage to each other, because men don't realize what they're doing to themselves. I got so many friends who are just swipe crazy. They just swipe. You know, I used to date quite frequently. I've dated quite a bit, but like I'm in a space right now where I don't do that because I protect my energy. But they're not, you know, my friends. I'm in BC right now. My friends that I grew up with here in BC, they're not, you know, they're very much kind of black and white when it comes to dating. Do you know what I mean? They're very like, you know, if she looks pretty, I want to date her, and then we'll figure out the rest after.
Oh.
So it's like, I would say like, yeah, it's maybe there needs to be a lesson. Hopefully your book has a big lesson for guys,
Yeah.
that can reach them to allow them to understand that if they were to slow down and really, you know, delete the dating apps for a bit. Really delete the dating apps, do a bit of a purge, go inside, go work on yourself. It doesn't have to be, you know, through yoga like how I did. There's numerous ways you can work on yourself, but if you really you know, can stop and really take some time to curate who, you know, this kind of, take the time to slow down and almost manifest your partner by articulating what you want this person to, you know, be like, what kind of characteristics, what do you want her to, you know, not just her characteristics, but, you know, then you can get into her, like what she looks like and all that jazz. But like, really, do you even know what you're looking for? So in order for you to manifest or really start to identify, what are you looking for? Because I was like that in the past, where I was just like, okay, let's go on a date. Let's go on a date over here. Let's go on a date over here. Oh, you look cute. You look cute. Let's do this. It was an easy transaction. There was no like heavy thought put into any of my dating. It was like, yeah, and in the past, I used to fall in love very quickly. I still kind of do. I just love women. I like, you know, I just like, I'm like, oh, this woman's beautiful, you know, but to not just like physically, like I love beautiful women who exude like that beautiful, energetic confidence from within. So, but yeah, just slow it down. I think that's the general message. It's just slow it down, because these dating apps are very, very fast.
So funny, before I brought you on, that's what I was saying, is that you know, my counselor had me make a list of, you know, must-haves, maybes, and absolute nots, right? So she had me do that list with men, but I didn't really know what I was looking for because I hadn't really dated. So I adjusted that. And the other day, I was frustrated with this last one. And I was like, okay, that's it, universe. I am going to be very specific. And I put every little detail in that paragraph, almost like a declaration of intention to the universe that this is what I am needing. This is the only thing that I want to sort of accept. So when you're saying that, that's what I need. I'll say to some men when I go on a date, so what are you looking for? I don't know. I just saw you and I liked you. And I'm like, so you don't know what you're looking for? I don't even know if I'm looking for, you know, casual, right? Friends with benefits, or if I am looking for, you know, long-term. And right there is a problem because,
Yeah.
you know, you're trying to weave people of the opposite sex or same sex that don't even know that they're on the same foundation to begin with. So how is that going to work?
Yeah, it's never going to work. It's kind of like you're just crossing wires that aren't supposed to, you know, that are never going to match up.
Mhm.
And I don't, you know, when it comes to knowing what you want, I don't think we were culturally, you know, if you look back on movies, movies aren't really showing us to, hey, really slow down and write down, you know, characteristics of your loved one. They're saying, oh, Tom Hanks is going to meet Meg Ryan and shit's going to be freaking phenomenal. And then that's how this happens, all right? You're gonna just go out there and you're just gonna make eye contact with somebody and you're just gonna
Yeah.
fall in love.
Yeah. 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 I love that. That's so true. Okay. I'm looking through here. Selena says, do you guys think that when you have a bad experience, it is something you need to look at within for? Why are these lessons coming up? What are the kind of people being sent to you? Oh, Lord, you go first.
Yeah, I think it is something for you to look at, you know, when these people are being sent to you because you are attracting them, you're saying yes to them. So you're accepting them into your life. So maybe, you know, I would just say that from my perspective, it's probably me just being unconscious again. Just me
Mhm.
being unconscious and consciously dating because I feel like I should be dating right now.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, and the other thing that I want to bring up too is that when I left my marriage of 21 years, I started dating 18 months after. For all of you out there, don't do that. Huge, that's chapter 2 called rebound, hashtag rebound. And so for me, I just didn't want to be alone. I wanted someone to hold me at night. I wanted someone to hug me when I was going through my mediation and having those rough times. If I looked at the qualities, there's no way that we didn't mesh, right? And so for me, it was kind of a really unhealthy codependent relationship because I was grieving and I was not in a healthy conscious state. So I learned a huge lesson there, actually. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So have you ever done that? Have you ever found that you just didn't want to be alone? So you were dating because you wanted someone else to be there?
I think I've done it because I'm really comfortable by myself, but I
Yeah.
think I've done it because I was bored.
Hmm.
To be honest, like just I was bored. I was like, all right, let's go on a date. What else am I doing right now? And
Mhm.
it's just so convenient. It's so easy, like to just go on there and just swipe. So it really does. It's kind of like if I got a bag of chips open, I'm gonna eat the whole bag because it's that easy. It's just very addicting. It's the same with swiping. It's like you get validation from like swiping and oh, this person likes me and this person likes my. This person actually liked my line, jingle jangle, let's tango, let's tango. So like I don't. It's too. Again, I go back. It's too easy. It's
Yeah.
not. It's too fast and too easy.
Hmm. Hmm. So the other thing, and I want to hear your perspective on this, okay? Because this is so as a woman who's spiritual, right? And I have
Yeah.
crystals all over my home and everywhere, right? So what I find is there's a level of men that just try and they have just a little awareness of the spiritual world. So a lot of the men that I've been dating follow Mark Groves. And Mark Groves rocks, by the way. I really love what he's bringing to the world because one of the things he'll say is, you know, you guys like take time and be comfortable being alone before you want to go out and be in a relationship. And he's really being honest about it. So what I find is, you know, they just get a touch of the lingo per se to think that, you know, you're on the same playing field with, you know, doing your self-help your healing work. And then when you actually get underneath it, it's like, yeah, no, there's not a lot of depth there. It's just, you know, we watch a few videos here and there, but we really haven't done the work on ourselves. So that's what I have been noticing in my last few connections. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I've seen that. I think, you know, because um, I'm fairly intuitive myself. I think,
Mm-hmm.
you know, some women that do claim to do the work themselves kind of, you know, they don't. You can tell. The proof is in the pudding. And it's like I think sometimes when I go on there, so I've dated a few yoga instructors because I'm a yoga teacher. I meet a lot of people in that community,
Mm-hmm.
and I noticed just on there in terms of spirituality, if I were to think back on like kind of like their dating profiles, I think they oversold themselves so to the point that they're just kind of putting up this kind of illusion that I am very spiritual. I really do take care of myself. I tend to my own garden per se, but it's like, well, these are very, you know, it's a very well crafted dating profile. But you know, when I meet you, when I interact with you, your actions say otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it goes both ways. You see it on with women too, because I think if you're talking about spirituality, I think it's just something that unless you've really gone and done that work on a deep level, it's just it seems kind of like buzz. It's like a buzzworthy trend to follow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that's a great term. It is buzz trendy, right? That's what I've seen. They even have the right books, you know, on the coffee table. And you think,
Yeah,
oh, right, he knows the love languages. This is perfect. And
yeah,
then you're like, what is your love language? You know? And they can tell you, but they can't go any deeper. And so that's what I mean about, you know, what I'm looking for and those red flags. You know, it's like the list grows longer, and it is like you're like, am I going to find anybody that I match with, or is this just a big, you know, mishmash of people that are looking for things unconsciously and consciously? And
I find myself, Velva, I don't even put like I'm a yoga teacher anymore.
uh,
I don't even put that. I don't really talk too much about my spirituality. I just say I'm spiritual.
mm,
And I've yeah, so this does go back to the beginning of our conversation about saying less. I used to you know, think I'd have to kind of describe myself and
mhm.
articulate like who I am and how like why am I spiritual and all this jazz. But now it's just like, no, I don't, I'm just spiritual. That's what it is. And maybe, you know, if we get together, you can see for yourself. But what does that got to do with you? Kind of, you know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Mhm.
So I think
Mhm.
yeah, I'm uh, I'm always going to come back to the kind heart. You know, it's not really about, you know, I've dated women who aren't really that spiritual, but have the kindest hearts, who aren't really, you know, tapped into their spirituality, but they're just so kind. And I find that so incredibly sexy.
Mhm. Mhm. So when you talk about kind, one of the things that I look for, you know, when we go out on a date is I look at how, you know, how does that person interact with the server? You know, how
Yeah,
kind are they during that time? It's not even just the old fashioned way. Like I had a really strong relationship with my granddad and my dad. And they're very strong men in my life. And in the beginning of my book, I talk about how those roots have allowed me to be open and authentic with men, because one thing that I get often is, you're way too deep. You're so deep. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I'm deep because I'm just real and that's who I am. And if that's too much for you, by all means, we're not a match. But do you feel that your values, you know, connected to your mom and your family, does that have a bearing on how you relate to women?
um, not so much. Like, you
Mm,
know, typically in culturally, in an Indian family, um, your family has a lot, you know, of say in who you're with and who you interact
mm,
with, because like my partner is marrying my family, you know,
mm,
if we were very traditional in that sense. But
yeah.
um, no, I would say, you know, my mom and my family, They just generally, they want me to be happy with who I am. So at this point in life, it's just, they want the best for me, and they want that person to have a kind heart. My mom would say she wants her to be, I want her to be a nice homely person. That's her like adjective. I want her to be homely. And she just wants somebody who is, I guess, has traditional values. So I know what my mom and my family want deep down inside, but they're going to be just as happy with whoever I'm with.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a really good point. Okay, Elizabeth says, I love seeing how people interact with those that are not their friends and or family. Yeah, I agree. It shows you a lot about someone when you see them interact, right? Or, you know, if I could, one thing I would love to be able to do is when I meet somebody is talk to one of their best friends and say, you know, actually I went on a date last night and this guy asked me questions like that. Like he talked to one of my good friends on the phone and he said, you know, what can you tell me about her? And I think
You
that,
got a reference check?
pardon?
You got a reference check?
Yeah, totally. Right. And I think I like that, right? Like if we could only do that, it would skip so many of the observation phase, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you a few questions here on my dating. Okay. So do you prefer online or the old-fashioned way of dating?
Old fashioned way. I just want to meet somebody in person. It was easier even before COVID. I wasn't on dating apps. I would meet people just and then, hey, let's go on a date.
Okay. Do you get nervous on the first date?
Sometimes, I guess. I'm really good at hiding it, but I get nervous. I write a lot of poetry, and I have the tendency. I'll write a poem like right away. I'm like, I'll know her for like half a day, and I'm like, boom, I got a poem ready for you. You ready? So.
And I'm sure they love that, right? It's like, oh my God, this guy's romantic. And, you know, here he is. Like I always say, a man with words, you know, that's the way to a woman's heart, right?
Yeah,
So
I'd rather leave a poem. I'd rather be like, instead of having a profile, I'd be like, just message me. If you like what you see, message me. If I like what I see, I'll message back, and then I'll write you a poem, and we'll go from there.
I like that a lot, actually. I like that. Okay. What has been one of your favorite dates
One
that
of my
you've ever been
favorite,
on? Mm-hmm.
one of my favorite dates that I've ever been
Mm-hmm.
on. I'm just trying to think. I have going to the P&E out here in Vancouver. So just going to the P&E and doing like the whole like movie scene straight out of a movie where you just get popcorn and you get the winner a stuffed animal and you go on like the Ferris wheel. And it's just like the perfect night and the stars are out and you know I'm just like funny as hell, just telling all the right jokes. So that I think that was a good date. One of the most perfect dates.
It sounds like a perfect date. Yeah, it's interesting, like, because I want to hear from a male perspective, you know, what is it for you? Okay. Do you look for red flags on the first date? And what are some of those red flags for you?
I don't really consciously look for red flags. I pretty kind of just, I kind of meet women how I meet like anybody. Like how I just meet like who, I just meet them where they're at, treat them like a friend. I just treat them with like kind of like love and kindness. But then I don't, I think unconsciously I look for red flags. So I really like the, you know, how they treat others is a good symbol, but how they talk to, if you know, if somebody's talking about a subject, and I don't like to talk politics, to be honest, as a deal breaker. Don't talk politics with me. You have your beliefs. Everybody has their beliefs, but don't talk. Don't. That got nothing to do with us. It has nothing to do with our connection. So don't talk about politics with me. Don't talk about pro-mask, anti-mask. Don't talk about none of that. I don't care. Just talk to me about you. So, but like if those are big red flags for me right now, is if you can tell if they're so charged about these
Yes.
going on, that's a red flag for me, because then if you go back to talking about spirituality, it's like, no, you're not doing that deep work, because now you're not this problem. You're not this issue. You're not a liberal. You're not a conservative. You're not you're not pro-Trump, anti-Trump. You're you. Let me find out who you are. So don't be hiding behind this illusion of this, unresolved anger that you have, which has nothing to do with pro-mask, anti-mask. Gibberish. It's just gibberish. Sorry, that's my rant.
No, you nailed it. I actually said that to someone the other night. Like, he said to me, the one thing is too, I'm like not politics, never have. It's like I go above the vibration. I don't want to sit in it, and the same thing with the mask. Like I always say my goal, Vic, is, I look at the Dalai Lama and how I remember him saying one time, if I just want to sit in a room and have a circle of people and just have all these triggers coming at me, but truly be able to not be charged either way. And honestly, that's my motto in my life, is to be in the center of that and have those triggers and just not feel a charge. So
Yeah,
I agree with you.
yeah, because like honestly, sometimes I get a little bit charged too. So like, I was gonna go on a date. I remember this one lady was about a few months ago, and she and her and I were talking, and I got on the phone right away, because I'm like, look, I don't want to text. You want to talk on the phone? I was like, that was awesome for me, because she got on the phone with me and we could talk and interact. So we got to know each other. We spent on our first phone call, it was like a 2-hour conversation. And then on the next phone call, because her father's in politics, and the next phone call, like something inside of me kind of like, I don't know, it must have been late at night. And I went into this mode of like, I'm very, I don't really like what's going on in India, because what the government's doing to the farmers is a whole different story. And she's like, my father is in politics, and you have to be on top of politics, and you have to be, you have to know what's going on. I'm like, I don't pay attention. I sometimes don't know who's running for mayor. Doesn't mean that I don't care about politics. I just went off on this, like, I'm doing my own thing for the community. I'm going to stay in this thing. And I kind of, so it's not just that person. I find that I do it for my own mental health, because I'm like, that's a trigger. I don't really want to go down that path.
Yep, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. It's like, where do you want to focus your energy?
Yeah.
Years ago, I was the rebel where I had to let everyone know where I stood, and I'm not that way anymore. I just, it's not important.
Just let it go, right? Like, yeah. I found that too. Like I'm getting less. It's not that I don't have opinions. It's just I'm more focused on the present and what can I do today and what is tomorrow going to look like. Because I joke about this, when you talk about, because it's really huge in dating right now. It's like, if you go online, the icebreaker is like, what's your take on COVID? How's COVID going? And are you pro-mask or anti-mask? And people on their dating profiles, they have masks on their face. I can't even see who they are. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? And it's just like, if you don't follow the restrictions, I'm not gonna. It's so that's the number one thing that I find online. That's their icebreaker. But I am trying to, like you said, to just let it go. You just kind of rise above it. I really don't want to engage in these kind of conversations. I won't really ever voice my opinion unless I've gone manic. Then yeah, if I talk politics, it's because I'm manic. So help me get help.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Yeah, that's a really good point. Like, it's true, and there was a profile I saw the other day, and it just said, like, some of them are like, if you have a mask, I'm not even going to engage with you. So where their stance is. So I'm like, yeah, okay, that's going to work for me, right? Yeah. No, I really like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Who was your first crush, and what were they like?
My first crush, and what were they like? I've liked women since I was in grade 2.
Grade 2.
Grade 2. I remember. This is a funny story. I remember. I think her name was Diane. I think it was Diane or Dina, someone with a D. And I remember our school took us on a trip to the pool. And I remember I liked her so much, and I just wanted her to notice me. And like, I'm in the pool and she's like walking along on the edge. And I remember I took off my life jacket And I started wrestling with it to kind of show her. I was like, look how tough I am. I'm wrestling this. Look at my display of power. I
Yeah.
think at that time, that's what I was trying to show her. So that's kind of my first crush.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. I like that. I like that. Would you rather be loved, respected, or admired, or all of the above?
Loved. I've been all. I just traded you after you've experienced it all.
Mm-hmm.
Just give me the love. Take the other shit. Take it and go. Take it and go. I don't want none of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just pure love.
So this is a topic I kind of want to go on. I think you'll go on it with me here. Okay, so chapter, I don't know. So when I first started dating, I didn't even know what friends with benefits was. Honestly, I'd been married for 21 years. I had no idea, right? And then I started seeing it on the profiles, you know, FWB, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
What is a hot wife? What are all these things? And so I literally had to educate myself. I had to Google.
Wow. Yeah.
Right? So I had to weed myself through that. It's like, so now, you know, when you talk about your jingle jangle line on your profile, you know, I think part of me wants to put this whole rant on my profile that says, you know, I'm not into the friends with benefits. I'm not a hot wife. You know, I'm not looking for casual. I don't need any more friends, right? Because I feel like I found that was a huge learning curve for me. Or did you know all of that already?
I already knew all of that already. I kind of knew all that already, but I'll tell you something. When I see specifically on a dating profile what a woman is telling me she doesn't want, it's kind of a turnoff. It's kind of like where she's just like, it's like, I'm not looking for can I swear?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Well, I'm not looking for a fuck buddy on here. I'm not, and you see this all the time. No fuck boys. I'm not looking for a fuck buddy. Don't be an asshole. And I see it. I'm like, well, this is an aggressive profile. You see it quite a bit from women. And it's like, so instead of telling me what you don't want, maybe that's what you're attracting because you're vocalizing it quite a bit. So I would maybe just say to those people, hopefully, that you maybe reconsider your profile and maybe just remove the things that you don't want because maybe subconsciously you're attracting them.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Like you saying that, I'm like, I'm in awe because, you know, I don't see the women's profiles, but I think, wow, okay. So some women are they are that vocal. I guess they're just fed up, right? And but you're right. I think when you put that out there, you're totally attracting, you know, what it is that, you know, you don't want. It's the universe is bringing it to you. Yeah.
I would even try because they got like video profiles now. You can make a quick video. It's just hard. It is kind of hard. I find it to make a video.
They do?
Yeah. There are some where you can have like, I think it's on Hinge. You can go on Hinge and you can just make a little quick video about yourself. So you can just put that as your dating profile.
I did not know that. That actually, to me, that sounds amazing because then you're seeing the person in real life, right? Okay. Yeah. So the other question I have, if you meet somebody on a dating site, do you connect with them via social media so that you can scope them out a bit more?
I don't. I notice women do that with me. I've actually made a lot of friends with women I've never gone on dates on that we just connect it up. We're just friends. We're still friends to this day, but we've never gone on a date off dating apps because they kind of creep my social media. But I don't really, I've creeped maybe 1 out of 5 if I'm going to give it a percentage. I would say 1 out of 5. 1 out of 5 is what I creep, but I prefer to go straight for like the phone call. Like, how soon can I get this person on the phone and talk?
You can tell a lot from talking to a person on the phone, a lot, you know. Texting too, I find there's so many things that can be, you know, misconstrued through a text, and a phone call is just like you hear the person's voice. I can feel their energy usually, which I'm sure you can too. So for me, I'm all about feeling the energy, right? And so I know instantly, and I say this to men that I date, on that first date, when you open your car door and you get out or you walk into the restaurant, I know instantly if I'm going to go on a second date with you. Almost always. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like that. I would say that That's how I experience it when I'm on the phone. If I connect with them on the phone, you pick up on their energy and their tonality too, because I can't really pick up on your tonality when you're texting or when you're typing up your profile. So, and who knows, kind of like what you said in the beginning of like you just copy and paste it and you put it here. It's just like if you're talking, it's live, and you get to really connect with who that individual is and make a more I would say a wiser choice on whether or not you want to progress with that relationship.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So now let's go to what has been your worst experience on a date?
Trying to think. I don't. Maybe I blocked it from my subconscious because I'm trying to I'm protecting my. I don't know. I'm trying to think. What was a bad date? A bad date. I don't. I can't. I honestly can't remember. I just don't. Nothing comes to mind like in terms of a bad date.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a good thing, because what I've heard from some of the men that I've gone on dates with is like when they see me, they're like, "Oh, you look like your photos." I'm like, "Yeah." And I say, "Why do you say that?" And they're like, "So many women use filters." And so, or they do only from the head up. And then
Yeah.
when they see them, the bottom half of their body looks completely different than the
Yeah.
top half. And they're really disappointed and they're angry. Like I had this one guy and he was so mad. And I'm like, well, I guess in some shape or form, the women must think that, you know, they're going to get to a certain point and maybe he won't care. I don't know what people are thinking, but that's been my experience, is that, you know, is asking people, are your photos up to date? Do you look
Yeah.
like?
So I don't really consider that a bad date, because I've had that happen when you meet somebody, you're like, yeah, this isn't you. But like I don't get charged about it, because that's why I'm like, I'm trying to remember, did I have a bad date? I'm like, no, it was just like, all right, on to the next one. If this was like, if it was an odd, you know, not because of the physical appearance, just because like, why is this person feeling like they need to fabricate their profile
Yeah.
to build the connection? Because this isn't going to work out well down the road.
Yeah.
If this is how we're starting off. Like
True.
lie? I don't like lies. Get these lies out of here.
Yeah, I know people. I just got a big message for everybody out there. Don't lie about your age. Do not lie about your age. There's so many people who lie, you know, from a few years to whatever. Don't. I mean, you're setting that tone for your relationship. So don't lie.
Yeah, I think that must be for women, because I don't know if do guys lie about their age a lot?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, ladies, for all men who do that. Yes. I'm their ambassador today.
You are. There's been a few lately who've said, I apologize on the behalf of all men. And I'm like, well, I'm sure there's women out there who are doing the same thing, but you know, it just is what it is. Interesting. So tell us a little bit, because we're almost at our time here. What is it that you want everyone to know about you, and tell everybody a little bit about what your latest thing that you're working on?
So about me particularly, like I said, my mistress, my wife right now is mental wealth. So it's called the Mental Wealth Campaign. And we're working on delivering and offering free, accessible, and affordable mental health services to people. And now that we can do it online, we've actually been going really well. We have 7 classes a week going. We have a kids program that's starting today that's facilitated by Nikki. So if you have any little ones, Nikki will be facilitating a drop-in class that happens every Wednesday to help teach young ones about emotional regulation, coping skills, especially during, you know, what's been going on this past year. So that's honestly at the forefront of my mind all day and every night. If people were asking me about me, I'm like, okay, let me just talk about mental wealth. Because if you see that whiteboard behind me, it's all mental wealth related. It's so, yeah. And when I read your post, I'm like, yeah, this is the more maybe I'm just looking through the lens of everything being about mental health. But the more I look and I read anything online, I'm like, yeah, this is something to do with mental health. Of course, dating has something to do with mental health.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why I was like, yeah, don't get me started, because now tying this for anybody that's listening, important is your mental health before you go on these dates, and care for yourself and nurture yourself, and really take the time to be intentional with who you're wanting to interact with, because you can find that your mental health may take a hit, and then after maybe some bad experiences, and maybe you're going to get stuck in like kind of that loop of these bad experiences. But take a break, slow it down, do a deep cleanse, system restore, and then try again.
That's perfect. I mean, life is all about death and rebirth, right? Whether it's, your health, your job, your relationships, your work, that's what it's really about. And you're right. I mean, I think that's amazing advice to give everybody, is slow it down. This whole pause has been about slowing it down, looking inside yourself. What is it that doesn't work anymore? Discarding it. What does work? What are things that you've had on the bucket list that now you're realizing that bucket list needs to happen now, because who knows what the future holds, right? So, yeah. So where can people find you, Vick?
They can find me they can just add me on Facebook. If you're watching, you can just add me on Facebook, and then you can find the mental wealth campaign. I can actually just leave that in the comments right now, is just the website.
Yes, thank you.
Let's see, right there. And then, yeah, take a look at all of our resources. We have free resources, they're affordable. And if we do charge for them, all the money goes back into mental wealth, so that we can further our movement and our offering.
I mean, truly, thank you for how vulnerable you are, about your own mental health, for doing this with me, and for really just, looking for that kind heart. I really wish you the best of luck in finding that kind heart. You will, because you have such a kind heart. So thank you for being on the hashtag Wisdom Weaver Wednesday. And yeah, you're welcome. It's been fun. And I want to thank all of you that are listening. And like I said, go check Vick out here on his website, or, add him on Facebook, and let's make this world a better place together. So thank you, Vick. Bye, everybody.